some silence and some stillness. We could call it meditation if you like. What it means for me is to go inwardly to a place of stillness that's very, very automatic and very natural. And it's just a place where it's still enough, as I often try to describe it. This would be true for anyone. If that internal stillness is still enough, then even the movements of mind that confer a sense of self can essentially come to rest as well. So there is essentially no sense of that at hand. It's very, very quiet, very still, and without that sense of an individuated self operating in the usual way, it's sort of like slipping into the allness. And to me, one of the things that I find lovely about it is that that allness includes everything, which also includes you. It's impossible for me to go into that experience of stillness without it feeling encompassing in a way, which is sort of like saying that stillness is something that is a felt shared experience because there's nothing apart from it. I mention that out loud simply because I think sometimes the opportunity to hear something like that gives some of those other minds, other souls, other beings, other seemingly separated fragments, a little bit of a greater permission to visit that wholeness, that stillness, that oneness as well. And so it's just really a lovely invitation. Yeah. I invite you to take a deep breath. We'll get back to the talking just in a little while. Trish, I wondered where you were zooming in from. Where are you located, just out of curiosity?
I actually live on the east coast of Australia,
Wow, all right.
about an hour or so from Sydney. It's lovely to be able to connect with you. I only discovered your YouTube channel yesterday,
Yeah.
and so it was just so lovely. The one that you posted not that long ago about what have you got to lose? Why is everybody so frightened of awakening when there's nothing to lose, literally? So I really like that, and I just love the energy with which you presented it. And so I checked it out, and here's this meeting today. So I thought this must be for me.
Oh, well, that's lovely. It's so glad to have you here. You know, one of the reasons that you probably haven't stumbled across me is I've spent most of the last decade very difficult to find. I wonder if you can tell me what whether there was something specific in any of those videos or just what else stirred in you such that you were inclined to be here today. Like,
Yeah, it was just your piece.
hmm.
And I started studying Course in Miracles. You mentioned A Course in Miracles on your website, and about 30 years ago. So it's been a very interesting journey. And right now, the last few years have been very intense. And just in the last few weeks, I got sick, sick for 3 weeks. But not only that, there was just a tremendous amount of very challenging stuff that was coming up from the depths and playing out in ways that were quite disconcerting and unlike me. So, it's just that there was some very deep stuff just in relation to others, my relationship with others and my expression with others. And also other things, crazy dreams, very emotional dreams. So it's been very intense, and I'm not sure whether it's just me going crazy or whether there's just some material that's coming up, because I've been really practicing forgiveness, practicing, in a big way. And so I think it's probably some kind of resistance.
Nice.
So the desire for peace, I didn't really, for some stillness, I don't actually have a meditative practice, but I've just of late felt this, and particularly when I saw your video, I don't know if I even realised how that I've been yearning for that with all this turbulence that's coming up, all this resistance. I just feel a need to connect as a practice on a daily basis, and but not any particular kind of meditative. I really liked your non-specific, just the stillness and the peace and just that place that you describe with it to drop into, and it's very familiar to me, but I haven't actually practiced it as a daily sitting down, just sitting practice. So I've watched a few of your videos and I really like where you're coming from. And so I thought I really would like to meet Jonathan.
I'd love to respond to some of the things that you just shared.
Yeah, please. Please.
You and I both know instantly. I mean, just to return to something that you said, that of course you're not going crazy.
I know that. I know that.
That's obvious.
That's what it feels like.
It might seem like the turbulence is a little crazy, but we know you're not going crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So we can take that off the table.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And but I do appreciate where that sentiment comes from. Very much so. And a couple other things come to mind that might be interesting to kick around. One of them is that I think sometimes people have the experience that they don't anticipate, because they kind of forget that the universe is listening very carefully to them. And so when someone really has a really sincere and deep drive in them that says something like, you know what I want? I really want some truth with a capital T. I want some peace with a capital P.
Yeah.
And it's almost as though the universe hears that and says, okay, I guess it's time to show you the stuff that needs to be resolved so that you can drop the things and remove the blocks and, attend to what's needed to be attended to so that you can get to the other side where that peace and that truth is. Let's go, baby.
Yep.
Sometimes that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been pretty aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear it a lot sometimes when people, they bring up, it's almost a cliche in the spiritual marketplace when someone says something like, oh, I just want to be more present. How do I get to the present moment or something like that? And, when they make that entreaty, if we wanted to, we could call it a prayer. Perhaps you didn't think of it in those terms at the time, but when someone says, I want the truth and I want some peace and I want to know what's the deal.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those are simple words that can end up having remarkable, powerful consequences. When you take the top off a pop bottle, stuff tends to come effervescing out, especially if you've shaken it up a little bit. Like if things have gotten shaken up a little bit, to borrow another metaphor. So regardless of why it's all coming spilling out and there's just chaos and it's a mess, it's not hard to understand also how one of the reactions that can crop up is saying something like, this is crazy. This is a bit much. This is too much. I just want some peace. Of course, that is profoundly understandable. Sometimes when we get to that place, we sort of veer a little bit into a place where we're not actually seeking to resolve the things that come up. We're mostly seeking to get out of the pain, which is, again, I'm not saying that in a way that is to judge it in any way, because it's so profoundly understandable. I mean, there's tumult and there's chaos and there's stuff coming up. And sometimes we do, frankly, just need a respite from it. But and it seems like a funny way to put it all of a sudden to me, but my impression of please take this, just simply as an impression, not as me stating this as if I think it's a fact. I wouldn't put it that way at all. But you're such an experienced soul, Trish. There's no way that you could cover over things and ignore them. You've been working on, and you've been traveling this path for way too long to go that route too much. I sort of get the impression that it's like 60% really delightedly ready to grapple with what's in front of me, and then there's another part of you it's actually lesser, because you're just too darn experienced for it to be more. But there is a part of you that has at times also just been like, can I just skip this part? Can I just get rid of it or get over it or get around the other side of it without having to do it? Can we just get to the nice part first? You know what I mean?
I don't. I have lots of experience, as you said. You're right, and lots of turbulence over the years as I've continued on my path, and so I'm not afraid of that or resistant to that.
Mm.
But it's so intense, so intense now, and so dark and uncharacteristic that clearly it's scraping the bottom of some kind of barrel of stuff that I'm hiding, stuff that how I present and so forth. And the desire for stillness wasn't to get away from it so much, but to support this process. I just wanted to complement all of that activity that's coming up from the depths with some stillness and with a formal practice of stillness. Even just that 20 minutes was just wonderful. What you said about, come on, when's it happening? When's the thing? Absolutely. That whole awakening thing, I've been through my obsession with that. And,
sure.
the obsession to awaken, which that's going, that's leaving. It's not really something that, to me, it's not really a goal so much, it's just to be with what is. I'm aware that there's lots of stuff that I've hidden that I've sort of known about but haven't actually addressed. So I've been given an opportunity now to be with that and to see that, to experience that. So yeah, you're right in lots of ways. And now I'm just sincerely wanting truth. But I just like the idea of just sitting with that as a part, as a response to what's happening, to support that, to allow that, to be with that.
Would you like to do a little bit of, work with that right here, right now?
Sure. I mean, everybody else is here though. They've probably all got stuff that they want to talk about, but of course, I thought I might book a session with you, Jonathan,
Well,
and
I'll
just
tell
have a
you
deeper
what,
chat.
I really am inclined to go ahead and we'll, just take a few, like maybe 10, 12 minutes. And here's what I'll suggest. I'm not going to ask you about any of the stories behind any of this at the moment. And you know, it, we'll just go on a little walk with it, so to speak. Which I don't know. I love that phrase. It's kind of how I
Yeah.
often think of these things and frequently kind of experience them myself. But so we'll just walk through a little visualization, a little meditation thing, and we're going to start out lovely place. What we know is that whatever that thing that you identified, it came up from some place that was, as you said, dark and deep. And so we're going to take a few steps down into the towards it essentially. And all we're going to do is just have a benign look around.
Yeah.
So let's do this together for a second. I
All
invite
right.
you to eyes open or eyes closed, whatever suits you. I'm going to close
Yeah.
my eyes.
I don't. I was just about to say why.
Mhm.
Why do I need to see this? And
Great question.
I know we all have our shadow aspects and done lots of shadow work and stuff.
So let's
But even then, as soon as I think of a question, I get the answer straight away. So
Great.
so I don't.
And so can you share that answer why you needed to see this?
It's basically, he says to me, this isn't true, and this is you needed to see this potential within you, it's within all, but it's not true. So that's it in a nutshell. You know, as I said, he's looking me in the eye and saying, you know, this isn't true. And this is not a denial. This is truth. And I can see that my next step is not to deny it as it's not true, but to see what's not true about the light side also.
Very good, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shadow aspect that also has an opposite, obviously.
Yes.
But maybe not all opposites to shadow. Maybe I'm not explaining myself very well.
Got you.
The positive aspect of this incident, this part of my nature, is not necessarily true. No, not necessarily. It's not true. It's not true. Also, so I think, yeah, that's really interesting.
Yes, that is interesting.
And I've kind of been playing with this idea, you know, that that it's not about the shadow aspect particularly. It's about what I do to cover it up, and that aspect.
Bingo.
That aspect.
There we go. What a funny thing, what a fascinating thing to hear you say, Trish, about covering it up.
Yeah.
Because I believe as you said that, you were referring to what you described as the positive aspect of it, that you've also been covering that part of it up.
To myself, yes. To myself,
yes.
It's a construct. I've created a construct, which is also not true. And I hadn't realized that part of it. Thank you, Jonathan. I'd realized that the shadow aspect isn't true. It's not part of my nature. But I hadn't taken it to the other side, thinking that, well, there's a positive aspect, and that's true about me. So that's interesting. That's really interesting. So both of those aspects are not true about me.
Okay. And again, without even exploring precisely what those details are, I mean, it's still very obvious, very clear that that's a pretty dramatic recognition for you, because that will absolutely inform some of the things that come your way, literally immediately, like over the next immediate future. Like, I mean, even like later today, that could have that will have an impact.
Yeah, I can see that. So that's pretty significant. And thank you, Jonathan. That's really, really interesting. Really interesting. And very helpful.
It is a joy to participate in this with you. So I am also grateful as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just incredible to me now that, I mean, I guess I knew it on some level, but not so dramatically, that the things we do to cover up our shadow, we convince ourselves our nature, our personality, whatever, that's who we are.
Right.
And all the other shit is underneath, and that's not true. But to realize that person that is the opposite to the dark is also not true, and that leaves me with nothing, basically.
It could lead to a whole new, I mean, that's a door opening of a completely another level of general awareness.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's
why
take it to the sorry.
No, please.
I can take it to the nth degree and say that, and I don't want to kind of rush into it too much. I'll just let it unfold, really. But I'm not sure what I am now or who I am, really.
And as you've heard many times over the course of your 30 years, isn't that just precisely the question that is one of the most powerful questions of all?
Absolutely.
And the door has opened to that question in a way that is utterly remarkable, it's very different than it would have been before.
Yeah.
And that's the pearl, that's sort of the jewel here.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? And the amazing thing is, it's been right under my nose the whole time.
If I may just point out a couple things. One of the reasons that I suggested we go through this was not because, well, there was a high chance that there would be a pearl or a diamond uncovered. First of all, sure, that's great, but there's a couple other things. One is that what you've just had is a direct experience of what it's like to go inside inwardly and do what you're being asked to do. Like,
Yeah.
at no point during this entire process with you and I did I reach inside you and pull a lever.
Mm.
And so if we're both really honest about what happened here, it was you doing you for you. I mean, there's maybe a way in which we, as I said earlier, we sort of took a walk together, but who's the one that did the work? You were.
Yeah.
It's not like you could leave here today without recognizing the power that you have regained, because what you just experienced was this very direct experience of essentially doing your own work, and in a way that you um, can't possibly not take with you. Like, as you continue down
Yeah.
that path, there's no
Yep.
way you can think back to this and not think, oh, I kind of know where to go, and I kind of know how to do it, and I kind of know, you know, I can navigate this
Yeah.
with a bit more um, well, awareness. And
Yep.
that can't be taken away from you. That's yours.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
I didn't have a hell of a lot to do with it. Really. I mean, that's literally what it means to take back your own power. And yes, we could easily get into a discussion about, who's in charge, and is it God or is it you? And
Yeah.
that's a remarkably um, marvelous issue to try to pull apart. And in the end, it doesn't matter. But what we do know is that you just had a direct experience of something powerful that you will carry with you.
Yeah. I feel that that you know years of self-inquiry, years
Yeah.
of who am I, years of things, but what I've just realized is that that experience has just seriously opened to question my own existence in a way, not in
Right.
a nihilistic or
Yes.
solipsistic or any of those ways, but just
I see
but
that.
but all the years of self-inquiry and all the years of self, always it was being done by somebody.
Hmm.
And, and now that's right now in this moment that somebody is seriously open to question.
Hey, yes, a great crack in that particular veneer, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
That,
thank you.
absolutely. Again, it really is. It is profoundly my pleasure to to be to be part of this experience as well. Yeah. Amen.
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 Amen. It's been a good day.